Welcome again to another nightmare. Little Nightmares 2 continues the story first introduced in the original, this time from the perspective of another small child, a boy named Mono, and his journey in this tortured realm. First off, I'd like to highlight the key moments in the story of Little Nightmares 2, then dive deep into that perplexing ending, the secret ending, and what it all means for the world. The game begins with Mono, a child with a bag on his head, walking through a soon-to-be familiar hallway before being thrust into a mysterious forest from a TV screen. Much like the original game, everything is enlarged and frightening in the world of Little Nightmares 2. Inside a dilapidated cabin, we hear a sound, a music box being wound by a small child. Mono saves the child, who is frightened by his appearance and runs away, only to realize later that their best chance for survival is if the pair works together. This young child is 6, the protagonist from the original game, without her trademark yellow raincoat, seemingly captured by an entity known as the Hunter, who stalks all of the prey in this forested land. When this hunter discovers the children, he does whatever he can to capture them before both Mono and 6 use an old rifle to kill the monster and hitch a ride into the Pale City, a town so destroyed by the signal tower's power that even the landscape has begun to buckle under its influence. Inside the city, we discover a hidden ability that Mono possesses. He can manipulate this signal being transmitted from the tower and travel in between realms, once again into that hallway we saw at the beginning of the game. This time, 6, though, wrenches him from the signal before he makes it to the end. Our next challenge is a school, seemingly devoted to the signal tower's fetishism of the all-seeing eye that we see across the world. The pair are accosted inside by ceramic maniacs known as bullies, who eventually take 6 hostage. As Mono tries to find his new friend, he discovers an entity known as the Teacher, a bird-like mistress that trains these bullies with an iron fist. After some smacking and hacking, Mono finds 6, who has now begun to change, taking slow vengeance on the bullies that captured her and becoming more and more independent and strong. They eventually escape this horrifying prep school and are able to find 6's iconic raincoat before entering another demonic realm, the hospital. Inside, we discover animated hands trying to kill the pair, humans ravaged by the signal's power turned into walking mannequins, and finally, an entity known as the Doctor, an obese monster that clings to the ceiling of the hospital, attempting tirelessly to help his patients have a returned sense of humanity that the tower took away. Unfortunately, all he's able to do is turn them into future monsters. Eventually, we trap this beast inside an incinerator, and as he burns, 6 slowly watches him suffer. From there, we travel further into the Pale City, its populace known as viewers, completely transfixed by the signal's glow. The infrastructure of the city, broken and burnt from that same signal, breaking away, trapping 6, who is once again saved by Mono. Mono is still trying to enter, though, the signal's TV transmissions and reach that final door. Now that we're this close to the tower, he's able to reach the door, but discovers what's on the other side. An entity known as the Thin Man, the seeming source of this world's crushing signal, follows Mono through the same television he entered. In a scramble, 6 and Mono hide, but 6 is not so lucky and is captured by the Thin Man, leaving a glitch, a shade behind for Mono to follow. The good news, though, this TV path that the Thin Man used to capture 6 is now open for Mono to use. Inside, he sees behind the curtain of this world something known as the Squirming Abyss, an amorphic blob with eyes and blood-red flesh is all around him. We'll get to that a little sooner. Mono continues to avoid plagues of viewers before Six attempts to escape the Thin Man, causing him to appear through a television. After narrowly avoiding him, Mono is ushered forth by Six's shade to face the Thin Man head-on. Surprisingly, Mono is able to use his powers, the same powers the Thin Man possesses, to destroy this monster and even bring a semblance of balance in the world, using that power to fix some of the contorted buildings that were crushed. Still though, there is one task left: to save Six. Mono heads into that monolithic signal tower to find a familiar sound. The music box that first played when Mono saved Six for the first time is being played now. But now Six is no longer that little girl, but a contorted monster clutching that same box in a room full of Six's mementos. Mono calls Six forward and tries to break the music box. Doing so shows the tower for what it really is. More of that contorted, squirming abyss, the real evil in this world, along with sending Six into a fury. After Mono tricks Six again and again, he's finally able to destroy the music box, which allows Six to return to her true form, but also creates devastation in the tower. The pair runs away from danger like they have hundreds of times. With Six ahead, hand out in front, Mono grabs it in glory, ready to leave this tattered realm, only for Six to drop Mono into that amalgamated evil as she leaves the tower. We now see Mono, with nowhere to go, sit on that familiar chair and transform over the ages into the one and only Thin Man. And that hallway he was forever trying to traverse closes once more. Now that is not the end of this story though. In the secret ending, we see what happens to Six after she jumps through the TV. She is confronted by that glitch, that shade of herself that slowly dissipates after gesturing to a postcard of the Maw, the location of the first game. And once again, that iconic hunger that motivated Six previously returns, suggesting that this is not in fact a sequel, but a prequel to the events of Little Nightmares 1. I believe it's a little more complicated than that. Mono was not turned into another Thin Man, but always was. Six didn't gain the hunger, but always had it. Both characters are forced into a time loop, endlessly repeating the events of Little Nightmares 1 and 2, thanks to the magical evil of that squirming abyss. Think about how the story begins. Mono is trying to walk through that hallway to see what's on the other side of the door. The Thin Man seemingly using that signal to usher him forward. The idea being that perhaps the Thin Man, a version of Mono, is doing everything he can to break that time loop, to stop this cycle of pain from continuing. What if he's not the evil villain we believe him to be, captured by the squirming abyss, sure, but is trying to do whatever he can to free himself, including use that signal tower to get Six? If Mono never discovers Six, she'd never be twisted by that journey and never becomes the monster destined to repeat the same mistakes. Diving even further, the official website description of the Thin Man says he is haunting the shadows, searching for something. In the game, the Thin Man only attacks Mono when he tries to stop him from capturing Six. And Six also is the one that keeps stopping Mono from reaching the door while he's having these visions. I believe that based on this theory, Six is the fulcrum of everything in this world. Her shade and what it represents, whether it's the evil manifestation of her hunger or perhaps a remnant of her goodness, is also vital in understanding this story. If we believe the time loop to be true, who are the real villains, and where does this little nightmare even end? I want to talk more about this shade and what this time loop means, Click on the screen now or join me below if you want to have the same discussion. I'm Andy Borkowski for VGS.